So I had case number 11, and I had a right total shoulder replacement, so I had a sling, and I also had fair balance, so I used a straight cane.
I had a left CVA, I also had poor fine motor and gross motor skills in my right upper extremity, and I used a Hemi walker.
I had a left total knee replacement. The piece of equipment I had to use was a straight cane, and my weight bearing status was weight bearing as tolerated, and it was painful during activities.
I had a lumbar laminectomy, I had a TLSO brace, and a walker, and precautions.
I had case 1, right CBA, and I used the one-arm drive wheelchair and slide board for transfers.
I had a congenital right arm amputation, and I had to have an ACE wrap around my hand in a fisted position.
Okay, so my home, I have 3 steps to get into my house, and I live on the top floor of my house, so I also have another flight of stairs to go up, and I was using a cane during this whole time, so it was not very accessible, and my washer and dryer is located downstairs in the basement, so I had to go down a flight of stairs if I needed to do any laundry.
I live in the apartments on campus, and the apartments that I live in, you have to walk up 3 stairs just to get into the building, and then you have to walk up another 5 to get to my apartment. So using the Hemi walker, it was difficult to access my building, and the laundry room is also in the basement of the apartment, so I'd have to go down 2 flights of stairs to get to the laundry room.
My house is in a house off campus. There's a few steps to get down into the front door, and it has 3 levels on it. I sleep upstairs, I eat and do homework in the middle floor, and downstairs I take a shower and all that. So even though I was able to bear weight on both extremities, it was definitely a little difficult because I had to use the cane, which slowed down my mobility, and I also had to be careful going down the steps when it was icy and snowy out.
So I live in an apartment off campus. There's 4 steps to get up just to the porch, and then 2 more flights of stairs. I have a storm door and a really heavy door with a limited amount of space to get into. And then once you get upstairs, it's all carpet in my apartment except for the kitchen, and you couldn't get into the bathroom at all with a walker. And if you wanted to do laundry, you have to go back outside through the grass around the house and go into our basement, which is just dirt.
My house was pretty accessible actually, except getting into the house I had to go up 2 steps. And my house is actually pretty wide open. I have a bathroom big enough to fit my wheelchair, but it was hard maneuvering myself with the one-arm drive wheelchair through all the doors and having momentum to get over the door hinges and everything.
So my house and the school was pretty accessible for me because I really only had a right arm amputation. So certain doorknobs were kind of difficult because one were like twists. The easier ones were like pulling because then I can just do it with one hand, but it wasn't too bad.
Okay, so I was assigned the cane, so I used that for my DME, but I have a walk-in shower, so that was pretty accessible for me, but I would have liked to have grab bars in the shower and coming out of the shower just because I only had fair balance. And also my staircase going upstairs doesn't have any railings, so that would have been nice in case I was falling or something to have railings to catch myself with.
I would have liked to have had a shower chair. That would have been an extra piece of equipment that would have worked for me because I could only weight bear as tolerated on my right leg, and I couldn't take my Hemi walker into the shower with me, so I wasn't able to stand the whole time, so the shower chair would have helped me more. I also wish that I had some sort of padding or grip on the Hemi walker because it was giving me blisters on my hands actually from using it. And another thing that I would have liked to had is some sort of device like under the Hemi walker that would have made walking through snow a little easier because it got stuck and icy sometimes.
So I had a straight cane, and same with Kayla. It would have been nice to probably have handrails or handlebars in the shower just because it's slippery, and obviously with a total knee replacement, you have to be very cautious and follow the precautions. However, it was beneficial that I actually have a built-in shower chair in my shower, so that was nice in case, like if I actually did have pain or fatigue, I would be able to sit down and take advantage of that if I needed to. And using the cane was also, even though I'm able to bear weight on all extremities, using the cane was beneficial just because even when it was really icy out, even not having a disability, I was scared of falling, so it was nice to have that extra support there.
I'm just gonna add something in there. I would have liked, she was talking about the shower being slippery, and that's something that I came in contact with. I would have liked to have like a pad on the shower, like a grip pad, that would have helped with the balance too.
I had the walker, and like Bridget said earlier, it would have been nice, especially in the snow, to have something to help it move easier. The amount of times that I had to slow down to pick it up and then walk into it just because I couldn't get through the snow was pretty rough. Grab bars as well, because with not being able to get the walker into the bathroom, I couldn't get to my toilet. My sink's only so small, and I also have a walk-in shower, but with mine, it probably would have been helpful. And for the TSLO brace, I live alone, and someone in my situation wouldn't have been able to put it on. Not really sure if there's much you can do about that.
So I had a slide board, and it was very difficult to transfer myself with only one arm and one leg. It was hard to place the board, like on my wheelchair, and it was not even, it wasn't even with a lot of my surfaces in my house. My chairs are pretty high, so I couldn't sit in my high chairs. And then for my bathroom, I definitely could only use my tub because my walk-in shower is very small, and there's no room for a bench in it. So that's about it.
So for my amputation, it would have been helpful if I had a prosthetic. So I think it would have been more helpful if I had the mechanical fingers instead of the hook at the end of the prosthetic. And so that would have made like a lot of my ADLs a lot easier.
So I had to change my original plan for my community-based activity because on Wednesday night it was snowing really bad, and so I ended up just going to the rack instead and playing some basketball at the gym, where I was planning on going bowling in town, just wasn't possible. And then I also going grocery shopping for my meal. I went to Aldi, and a lot of people pretty much just ignored me. They just looked at me really funny because they're like, why is this 21-year-old person using a cane? Because that's not seen very often. And other than that, most people were pretty understanding of the sling because that's something they see more often. So.
For my community activity, I went to Tops, and I went grocery shopping at Tops. And as I was checking out, I went through the self-checkout, and like before I could click anything on the screen, the person that works at the self-checkout had already like clicked on the screen, like to begin, and then came over and scanned all my food for me, and then bagged it all and gave it all to me. And so I didn't really know how to act when that happened because I kind of felt like she didn't think that I was capable of scanning my own food because I had my Hemi walker and I wasn't using my right arm. So that made me feel a little uncomfortable because she literally just looked at me and was like, okay, let me go help this woman. But at the same time, I feel like she was trying to be polite. So I definitely got to experience the psychosocial aspect while I was out. And another, like when I was leaving Tops and trying to cross the sidewalk, it took me like an extra couple minutes to walk with the Hemi walker, and people were just like kind of standing there staring, as you were saying, like, why is this young girl taking 5 minutes to cross the parking lot? So it definitely, like, you can feel the psychosocial aspect as you're out in public.
Going off of what Bridget just said and what Kayla said, one of the activities I did was I went into McDonald's and got food, and right as I was walking in, there was just a bunch of elderly men sitting there. One of them did have a cane, and as I'm walking in with my cane, they're just staring at me like, I just felt like, I don't know what they were thinking, but I just felt like they were thinking, what is this girl doing? So I felt embarrassed, I guess, in a way. Another community activity I did was I went shopping at Peebles, but I didn't go till kind of late at night, so there wasn't a lot of people there. But I have noticed as like going around town, there are a lot of people that do stare, which kind of puts a little bit of a mental toll on you, I guess. I also went to the Oak Room and played ping pong, and usually in stuff like that, I like to get really intense, so it was hard not being able to move around as much as I would have. Same with what I mentioned in my other video. I had my dog, and every single day we go outside and play together, and I run around with her, and I wasn't able to do that, and that made me really sad, so I couldn't imagine how it would feel to feel like that every single day.
Going off what Amy said about being stared at, when I went into Tops, there's a lot of older people there as well, and I kind of got the looks of, why is this young girl using a walker? Because it's not very often you see someone young using one. The same thing happened at Subway. We got stared at a lot by pretty much everyone in there. I also noticed it crossing the road to go home. I would have cars, they would just keep double looking, they'd slow down, and some people stopped, which happens every so often just with the snow, but I felt like a lot more people stopped to let me cross the road than usual.
So I went shopping at Tops, and my first experience with the psychosocial part was I was finally getting ready to check out, and two ladies asked if I wanted to go ahead of them, and I told them no in the self-checkout line. I went to the tavern to eat, and if you've ever been in the tavern, that door is so heavy. And I tried to open the door, and I couldn't get over the little hump by myself in the one-arm drive wheelchair, and I felt really embarrassed then. Bree had to kind of give me a little help in the door. And then I was planning on going bowling as well, but the snowstorm kind of affected that, so I went up to the rack and played basketball.
So for my recreational, I went to Tractor Supply and to look at the new chicks. So my one experience while there, I was looking at the chicks with like my one hand and then my other amputated hand up, and one little kid was looking at me, and he tugged on his mom's sleeve and said, "Mommy, what's wrong with her?" And so I know like the kid doesn't know the difference, but like just having that like thought in the back of your head, if I had to deal with that every day, like what's wrong with you, or like people always asking what's wrong with your hand, or like what's the story, or like the background behind it, I feel like I can't imagine having that every day. And then when I went shopping and just got groceries for my meal, and when I was in class, everyone was pretty helpful, but sometimes I felt like they were too helpful, thinking that I couldn't do it on my own, that like I needed their help when I could easily like zip my coat up by myself because I found a way to hold it down and then zip it up, but so that impacted a lot. So
Overall, we all think that this is a very beneficial assignment to us, but we do think that there could be controversies in the community.
Like Marissa and I were talking after we went out and did grocery shopping. She was saying how people who like film people with disabilities, they kind of look like jerks, and she felt like that jerk because there was someone who others perceived as having a disability, and she's taking pictures and videos of them.
And then also when I first told my boyfriend about this assignment, he was asking me about like, isn't that kind of rude to do that for people who actually have a disability? Like, aren't they going to be offended because you're pretending to have a disability and you're laughing about it and having fun with it, even though like they actually do have that disability? So he was just worried that some people would get offended, which I think he's right. And I think Amy picked up on that maybe a little bit with the old men that she was talking about in McDonald's, how she doesn't know what they were thinking, but they might have been like, I actually have to use this cane, and maybe this girl doesn't actually have to use it, but she's in here, and maybe they thought she was
Taking
making
pictures
fun or doing other
laughing,
things
yeah.
like that. So
All right, thank you.
Thanks.